Good morning. How is everybody today? This is the second class in our series on academic writing. And I forgot my water, so I might need to take a break in just a moment to go get that. I see everybody is active in the chat. Good job, everyone. What we have going on is a dialogue and discussion from last class about academic writing. So I got everybody's homework. Good job. If you didn't send your homework, that's okay. A couple of you did message me and say that you had exams or extra work in your everyday classes, and that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to give advice to our premium subscribers on the work that they're doing in their everyday class as well. So, one of our students, it looks like their hours of work changed, so they cannot attend this class any longer. That's Luana. I'm so sorry to hear that. I know that work changes, but there are other great teachers, Smrt Live teachers who are on at different times, and we may have different times in the future. So be sure to check back. You can always watch the videos later and catch up on anything you missed. So please continue to watch even if you can't be here live. But thank you guys who are here live every week. Hi, Jose, Ricardo, Deary, Caroline, Sandu, French Leo's here, Sabajit's here, Boba. Let's see, I don't want to miss anybody. There are a bunch of great. Fatis is here, Nora, Luana, JB is here, Alash is here. Alash, good to have you back. It looks like a few people that I haven't seen in a little while. Rosa's here, of course. Happy to see Rosa. I hope everything's going well in classes. So we're going to get started right away and go into some of what we were talking about last week. Bharat's here as well. Okay, and just as a warm-up, hey, I like this. Polixio says, Josh, can you explain the meaning of rootin' tootin'? The context is the ghost town is going to be great now with 30% more gunfights and 40% more rootin' and tootin'. It's used as a noun. Yeah. So tootin', in, is kind of like ing there, and that is operating as a noun. Like you said, it's a gerund, so that's generally a verb. So if you look back at that sentence, 40% more rootin' tootin'. Rootin' in is ing, rooting and tooting. Really what it means is like hootin' and hollerin', rootin' and tootin'. It's a phrase that was used in early 20th century, late 18th century, even before America, and it's kind of cowboy language. We would see that in characterizations of early Western American culture of cowboy days. So think of it as ing, and it's a slang. So like gonna, wanna, how we abbreviate those words, or gonna be a good time. It is going to be a good time, but we say gonna. Same thing there, rootin', tootin'. So that's a fun little phrase to dissect and look at. So it is working as a noun. It's working as a gerund noun, which is a verb with ing that we use in a noun form. So that's kind of fun. Thanks for that. I'll try to answer those little questions when we can, but the topic of today's class is writing, academic writing, and we're going to talk about that. Some of you sent me great messages and emails asking wonderful questions about the differences between constructing a presentation and constructing an essay, and they're essentially the same thing. The outline, the way we introduce stuff, you want to begin strong. You want to begin with a hook, something that grabs your reader's attention, or listener's attention if it's a presentation, and then move into the details, support your thesis, introduce your thesis, support your thesis, and the thesis, remember, is the most important idea or concept or takeaway from the essay or presentation. So it's your main point. So introduce your main point, and then talk about your main point, defend it, support it with evidence, with facts, with supporting structures, and then finish it off with restating your main objective, restating your thesis so that readers or listeners can understand why you are correct in making this claim, this statement, and then wrap it up with some sort of big idea or call to action. So we're going to talk about those in more detail as we go today. So don't worry if that was too quick or too much information all at once. We're going to break it down for you. So here's some more comments on writing, the topic for today. This is great. I want all the writing questions you have. So Alash says, I'm having a problem with connecting the thesis with the topic sentence at the beginning of the body paragraph without being repetitive. Can you please help me out? Great question, and yes is my answer. I will definitely help you out. I'll tell you some of my preferred writing techniques, and then we'll practice a little bit together. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our notes, and then I'm going to sign in and get our premium subscribers checked in. So these are our class notes. Give me just a moment here. All right. Today is already the 11th of May. Tomorrow's my birthday, May 12th. So I'm sure many of you are checking Facebook and see that. But yeah, tomorrow's my birthday. I'm going to be the ripe young age of 32 years old. And it's always fun, right? It's even though your birthday's not a holiday or anything, it's still kind of like, oh, today's one more year after I was born. So today is the 11th of May, 2017, and I'm creating this document here so we can take notes that we can share later, and remember all of these tips and concepts for oh, thank you guys. All these concepts for making our writing better. That's the goal, right? Improving our writing, making ourselves stronger writers, excuse me. I need to make myself a stronger speaker. To make ourselves stronger writers by looking at areas of our own writing where there's room for improvement. All right, I appreciate all the birthday wishes, everybody. Thank you. That's nice. All right, so you guys are ready to start the lesson, right? I'm going to go ahead and bring up our lesson here, taking attendance from our premium subscribers, and then we'll get started. Good to see everybody here, signed in, logged in, ready to go. And then I'll go down to through our amazing library to English for academic purposes, which has some of our writing notes. And then I have class notes here as well. So what we looked at last week was our outline. And we looked at it through the lens of presentation skills because it's essentially the same. Like I said, we have our introduction, our general statement. This should be a hook. If it's the first sentence of your essay, it should grab the reader's attention. There's lots of different ways to do this. Some students choose to write a rhetorical question or a legitimate question that they will answer later. And you can begin that way. With a presentation, you want it to be rhetorical. You don't normally want to ask your audience a question that you want a response to, because what if they don't respond? You want to be in control and command of your own presentation. So that is my advice there. When it comes to your essay, you're not there to receive an answer, so you generally want it to be rhetorical. But you can change a question into a statement or a statement into a question to suit your purpose, whatever that might be. But your general statement should be intriguing. It should hook your audience. I should read the first sentence of your essay and say, wow, even your title, say, wow, this is an interesting topic. I want to know more. Your thesis statement and your two main points go in there. There's a little bit of leeway as to where you put that and how you phrase that, but we will practice. And then your topic sentence and your supporting sentences are basically different ideas in the form of body paragraphs. So you have supporting topics that you break down into paragraph form and you give examples or cite data, etc. And we'll look at our homework assignment and then kind of work on that together. So let me go back to, I'm going to bring up my my email here, and I'm going to bring up the document that I sent out for homework last week, and that is essay prompt outline. So our essay prompt outline and homework for May 4th was this. The prompt was, some people think that high school students should work over the summer in order to build a sense of responsibility. Do you agree that this is a good idea? Why or why not? So this is a pretty easy prompt. We're asking for your opinion, and I even gave you the opinion to write about, to say that it is a good idea. So we were all, the homework for us premium subscribers, and for you guys if you wanted to do it on your own, was to try to write our introduction paragraph, if you could do a better job than the one we did in class, and then 2 body paragraphs giving supporting topics. So our topic 1 was, it creates responsibility. Our topic 2 was, it's good to earn money. You can save up for school, support yourself. There's a lot of positive things there. I'm going to go back and just make sure I'm catching all the comments in the chat here. All right. So, and don't worry, Alash, we're going to get back to connecting the thesis with the topic sentences in the body paragraph. We'll look at paragraph structure and how to create unity in our paragraphs, and then we will also look at connecting our paragraphs, connecting those thoughts through transitions. Lots of people have birthdays coming up, so happy birthday to everyone else, all you wonderful students out there. Okay, so the topic of body paragraph 1 was responsibility. Oh, let's go back and let's look at my introduction that we created. Again, this isn't a perfect introduction. It could be better. So I hope if you haven't sent me your homework yet, or if I haven't completed correcting it, I think I got almost everybody's, then you could have made this much better. And we'll kind of look at it together and see. So high school students working over the summer has many advantages as they grow and learn. Yeah, it's a very boring hook that I wrote. This is my writing, so I can critique it and tear it apart and kind of make fun of it. So my writing here, high school students working over the summer has many advantages as they grow and learn. I just made that up. I should make that stronger. Looking back at it, looking at how I can improve, I can create a more engaging hook than that. Instead of saying this, we could say something like, we can eliminate the high school students and we can introduce that demographic later. Though it is kind of a main focus, so we want to include it probably somewhere in that first sentence. But we could start out more general, something like a hook. What if we started with, if this was a personal essay and had a personal tone, we could use the I statement and say, if it's narrative, if I'm talking about my own experience in my life, I could say something like, I never thought I would say that working over the summer in high school would change my life. That's more engaging. That's more of a hook. That you probably want to know more about that narrative, right? How did it change my life? Why is that so important to this person as a reader? So you have to look at your own writing as a reader. You have to step back, give it some time. I haven't looked at this in a week, and revisit it and say, I thought that was good at the time, but now I can make it stronger. I can make it better. So high school students working over the summer has many advantages as they grow and learn. Here's a better hook sentence, I think. Growth and learning does not end in the classroom. It can and should continue. And we can give our demographic here. We can say for high school students, growth and learning does not end in the classroom. It can and should continue outside the classroom. Most importantly, throughout the summer months. Okay? So it's a little bit longer, there's a little bit more detail, but I pack a lot more power into this sentence. I could even change can and should, those modal verbs, to must. It must continue outside the classroom, more importantly throughout the summer months. Or most importantly, excuse me. I'm making a strong statement from the start, so you sort of know my opinion right out of the gate. It's also interesting and intriguing in that you can agree with this or you can disagree with this, but you're probably going to be tempted to read more because if you disagree, you're going to want to poke holes in my logic. You're going to want to say, nope, Joshua, I disagree with you. I don't think you're right, but I need to know what facts you're going off of and what opinions so that I can counter that. Or you're going to agree and get excited about this idea and say, I agree with you, but I want to know why you think this because I have my own reasons for thinking this. This is how opinion essays work. You take a strong stance and you defend that stance with facts, with anecdotes, with opinions, and you support it. You support your beliefs. You support your argument academically by trying to appeal to logic. So, there is no left alignment required for the first line. No, there is a left alignment. So we're talking about structure now of the essays, and this is an indentation. So this is important. In academic essays, I changed the color of this here for the exercise because we're going to differentiate between our intro paragraph and our two body paragraphs. But this here is an indent. You get this by pressing, I'm going to make the screen bigger here for a second, by pressing the tab key, which is right here on my keyboard. Right there. So you press the tab key just one time. Some students have asked me why you don't press the space bar. It messes up your formatting. It's a terrible idea. Don't do it. Back to the lesson. So this part here is just a tab key, tab over. In old style. So it's stylistics. There's a whole nother lesson on stylistics, and we talked about it a little bit in our APA series quite a few videos back. But we can refresh a little bit later on what the stylistics should look like. It is an older style, but it's something that persists throughout academics. So in academic writing, we do want a few things to be standardized, just so that our writing is a little bit more accessible and it's not distracting to our readers. Two independent clauses at the beginning of the introduction. Yeah, do I have two independent clauses here? For high school students, prepositional phrase, growth and learning does not end in the classroom. Oh, yeah, sure. So we could do a semicolon here. It can and should continue outside the classroom, most importantly throughout the summer months. Good punctuation catch. Who grabbed that one? I gotta go back through the comments here. I'm not sure who left that comment. Good job though, whoever did. I don't see the no alignment on the first line, writing style alignment. Whomever said that, go ahead and let me know and I'll say thank you. So there are two independent clauses there that we can separate by that semicolon. And I'm breaking one of my own rules that I usually put in my classroom for my writing students. Try not to use pronouns like it. Don't use verbs like do and make. Avoid those. That will help your growth in English if you're an English language English language learner. So working on a summer job teaches responsibility in a number of ways. Students learn about key life skills and money management. Without a summer job, students risk valuable time to grow and improve as individuals. So I'm catching my own mistakes as I reread this. A summer job is so very important for high school students. It's not very strong writing, but it's okay. So that's our introduction paragraph. I'm not going to nitpick every sentence or rewrite the whole thing right now because I want to talk about the stylistics of connecting ideas rather than the robust nature of the ideas themselves. So point one was going to be responsibility. So you notice here, let's fix this paragraph. We're going to make it one regular paragraph, no color, size 12, Times New Roman font. So this is hopefully a refresher for our APA class, and hopefully it goes back to what we were talking about and you're connecting ideas if you've been with us for a while. If not, go back and watch some of the APA classes. They're great, and we may do another series of them and try to answer more questions and improve on those lessons more. So for high school students, growth and learning does not end in the classroom. It can continue, should and should continue outside the classroom, most importantly throughout the summer months. So we introduced the main idea, right? The high school students, summer, and growth and learning. So we're talking about positive aspects of it. So from this first sentence, you can kind of guess my opinion, guess my thesis, but I'm going to go into detail by introducing my supporting topics like responsibility. Working a summer job teaches responsibility in a number of ways. So you know that my first topic is going to be responsibility. And you see up here, my body paragraph 1 is about responsibility. So I need to start this paragraph. I'm going to begin with a topic sentence, summer work equals responsibility. I'm going to follow it with supporting sentences. Why? Why do I support the idea of responsibility is gained from summer work? Because it gives us a schedule, it gives us guidance as a boss's orders, it gives us interaction with customers and coworkers. So those are my supporting sentences for the idea that a summer job teaches responsibility. A couple questions in the chat. JB says do and make. Yes, those are the two words I recommend avoiding. So I can put notes up here at the top. Notes in notes for academic writing. Now this is if you are writing simple academic essays. So maybe you are in high school and your teacher says you have to write an essay in English. Maybe you are in a 101 class in college. I'm going to give you very, very, very basic 101 essay tips. So this is not advanced writing where you're publishing a paper on theoretical physics for grad school. This is for the basics of writing. Now, it does apply to those bigger essays as well, but we're talking about basic academic writing here. So notes for academic writing, use APA stylistics, right? Oops, can't spell. Use APA stylistics as a default. Avoid using verbs like do and make. And you might ask, why? Josh, why should I avoid using verbs like do and make? Good question, students. I should avoid using words like do and make because almost every time you use the verbs do and make, there are better choices. I cannot tell you how many essays I've read from students from all over the world that are learning English, and they will write a sentence sort of like, example. I'm going to give you a very, very basic example from some of my intro writing classes. I went home and did my essay, okay? Which is essentially the same meaning as I went home and made my essay, okay? So in these sentences, the verb do and the verb make are not wrong, but there's a much better choice. What it should be is I went home and wrote my essay, okay? And by doing this, by saying I went home and I wrote my essay, I'm using an accurate action verb. This is the real meaning here. Wrote is a stronger verb for action. Almost every time you use the verbs do and make, there's a more accurate verb. Now, not always. Those verbs are very useful. Do is mostly useful as an auxiliary, and make is mostly useful in collocations or phrasal verbs. So consider anytime you write those words that there's a better choice. Also, avoid using the pronoun it. Okay? Avoid that. For the same purpose, almost every time a student uses the pronoun it, they could restate the noun using something different. Earlier, who was the student who asked? I think it was Alash asked, how do I avoid repetition? You want to avoid repetition that's obvious, like stating the same sentence multiple times, so we can use things like paraphrasing, rephrasing to counteract that, but also avoid repetition of simple things like pronouns or adverbs. Some people get stuck on one or two adverbs that they really like. Same with adjectives that they really like to describe nouns. And we find ourselves using them way too much when we can. Language is big, right? So we want to flex our language muscles and use a variety of vocabulary where appropriate. It's important to consider if it's appropriate or not. If you're just throwing extra flowery words in without purpose, then it can hurt your writing. So purpose is important here. What is your purpose of writing, and how can you write with intention? Choosing your words carefully. So avoid the pronoun it. All right. How do I make sentences accurate with careful language? Great question, Arjun. Using careful language, precise language. What is the difference between an opinion essay and an argumentative essay? Good question. So sometimes they're very similar in structure, and sometimes they sound similar in tone. An opinion essay is more persuasive. It's persuasion of opinion. So you're saying, here's what I believe and why. You're kind of asking the reader to believe what you believe. Argumentative essays are more like changing someone's opinion, changing their mind. They already have the opposite belief of you. So you want to think of a logical, intelligent way to support allowing them to change their own mind. So an opinion essay you can think of as an open idea where someone may not feel one way or the other, and you're just describing how you feel. So you're stating your strong opinion and you're saying why you believe it. And it can, depending on the reader, be an argumentative essay. But an argumentative essay is specifically when your audience has the opposite opinion of what you want to write about in your essay. Some teachers in my past have forced that on me. They've forced opinions that they know are against my own beliefs to try to get me to explore other sides of the argument, to think more openly about contrary opinions or alternative options in a belief system, in the way that you feel or think about something. So sometimes academic writing teachers will say something like, write an essay convincing me that war is good, which most people believe war is bad. You should believe war is bad because it is, right? War is terrible. But if you have to force yourself to write against your own opinion, it can help. So we'll get to that more a little bit later. But great question. Difference between opinion essay and argumentative essay. Bharat is having a very poor internet connection. Maybe reduce the video quality, and that will help. All right. So here's another good question. How can paraphrasing an author avoid plagiarism? Kla, 123, Kla, 123. How do you want me to pronounce that name? Great question, though. Great question. So how do I avoid plagiarism? The truth is, even paraphrasing can be plagiarism. If you're just simply taking someone else's ideas and you are rewording them and then just putting them back out, that doesn't avoid plagiarism. The best, and in my opinion, only way to avoid plagiarism is when you are taking someone else's ideas, you're taking someone else's language or words, cite them. Let's put that in our notes of how to be good academic writers. I'm going to change the title here. How to be great academic writers. So we're going to use APA stylistics as default. We're going to, I don't know why that, there we go. We're going to, sorry, I'm just lining up our notes here so they make better sense. So we're going to use APA styles. We're going to avoid verbs like do and make. We're going to avoid words like it, the pronoun it. We are going to cite our sources and quotes. Cite our sources, our quotes, our paraphrasing. So last night I was reading Khalil Gibran, and great writer, amazing writer. If you haven't read Khalil Gibran, you should read something by Khalil Gibran. It's beautiful writing. But if I wanted to use some of that writing, if I wanted to use some of the quotes, even if it wasn't word for word, even if it was not a quotation, I would introduce it. I would cite it in the text somehow. So an example would be, trying to think of a good quote I read. Khalil Gibran said something like, so here's what I would write in my essay as an example. As the great, I want to make sure I'm spelling his name. That doesn't look right. The K-A-H-L-I-L. Okay, K-A-H-L-I-L. G-I-B-R-A-N, Gibran. So I will spell his name correctly there. Said, how can one leave a city with only joy and leave all their sorrow? They should take their sorrow, some sorrow with them. That's not exactly the meaning or the quote, but it's kind of approximation. So I can change this to be more accurate to my paraphrasing here. As I understand it, Ron wrote about how leaving with only joy Okay, I'm changing this as I go. This is how writing works. This is how my writing works. I change it, I change it, I change it, I change it, and then I change it again. Editing. It's a big part of writing. So, as I understand it, the great Khalil Gibran wrote about how leaving a city with only joy is difficult when you leave all your sorrow behind. So this is there's a lot to this sentence here and a lot to this idea. But you notice I cite where I got this information, right? I could even cite the book that I read that had this idea in it. We cite our authors even when we paraphrase what they wrote. We cite the books, we cite our sources. So that hopefully helps out a little bit. Which word is correct? Here's another just quick question you have. I think I've kept out or left out or missed out the full stop at the end of the sentence. That's a great question. I'm not going to answer that for you though. That sounds just like a homework question or something that you would find on there. Which one do you think is correct? Let me know. So imagine our teacher gave us homework. Here's another question, Arjun says, or maybe a statement. After finishing, we can also do a slight comparison with other group members and compare our notes with them. Is that one way we can avoid plagiarism? So what plagiarism is taking someone else's words and claiming them as your own. Talking about an idea with classmates and then each of you independently writing your own work will sometimes produce similar writing. So let's say we have a topic kind of like this, or let's just say this is our topic that we're talking about in class. Students should work over the summer. So maybe you go into your group and you're discussing with your fellow students and you say, no way, students should not work over the summer. And then some of your other fellow students say, yes, students should work over the summer. So you're each creating your outlines, you're each creating this. And you might pick up on a point that someone else makes. Maybe somebody else says, well, hey, I think it does teach responsibility. And you think, yes, okay, responsibility, you're right. I want to write about that. Well, each of you are going to independently write your own paragraphs, and your paragraphs will be different. They have the same opinion, the same tone of this is a positive thing because it's teaching responsibility, but it won't be exactly the same. So that's not plagiarism. You can compare with others and then add your own ideas, but you simply can't take someone else's thoughts and ideas and claim them as your own. So if you even start to ask yourself, am I plagiarizing this? Be very careful, because the answer is probably yes. If you have to stop and ask yourself, oh, are these my thoughts, or am I using someone else's thoughts? If you're even asking yourself that question, you're probably using someone else's thoughts, which is okay if you cite it. So you could feasibly write an essay in class and say, my friend Alash thinks that responsibility is taught through working over the summer. I couldn't agree more. I think it's very valuable because blah, 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 blah. What I teach my students in writing classes here is I usually write a paragraph like this on the board, and I talk about citation or using someone else's idea and how much should be ideas you find and how much should be your thoughts about that idea. And I always say that 90% of your writing should be your own. Only 10% should be paraphrasing, citation, or other people's ideas. Okay? And that will change a little bit, those numbers, as you go on with your academic writing. Okay? 90% of your writing should be your own, 10% should be paraphrasing someone's ideas. So what does that mean in a paragraph form? Well, that means in a paragraph of 5 or more sentences, which all of your paragraphs should be 5 or more sentences. I mean, that's a good number to just say, I'm not going to go below this. It's really hard to write a very strong paragraph with only 2 or 3 sentences if you're learning English. So stick with 5 or more. And of those 5, if one of them is not your own, that's 20% of the paragraph, right? So consider that. Think about it. Make sure you're not paraphrasing more than even one sentence per paragraph as you start your writing, okay? All right, Plexio says left out and missed out, I think are 99% correct, but keep out, I'm not sure. So going back to that, I've kept out the full stop, I've left out the full stop, or I've missed out. You're getting closer. Keep thinking about it, okay? And let me know why you think one or the other might be correct. So how to write academic writing sentences like natives do. Write, and share it with native speakers. If you're not a premium subscriber, become one and share it with me and I'll give you feedback. I'll say, yes, you sound like an American college student. Or I'll say, no, we would never say this. This is a sentence that does not make sense and here's why. That's the idea of becoming a premium subscriber is you get that kind of feedback from me. So if you are not a premium subscriber yet, check out how to do that. You can do it for free for a month. Check it out. See if you like it. Here is the link. Oops, I think that's the link. Let me correct it here just to make sure. There we go. Okay. And you can check out our amazing teachers and sign up. So the idea of writing like a native speaker is not as simple as, oh, I was born in America, I can write like a native speaker. American writers struggle too. I've spoken the language my whole life. I've spoken English for, when do you start speaking? 1 or 2 years old, for like 30 years, and I still struggle in my writing. You always will have room to improve your writing, to become a better writer. How to do that most efficiently is to read a lot and to write a lot. Those two are so closely connected that you cannot remove one without the other. So that's why our next 2 classes are all about academic reading, which I'll keep referring back to academic writing because the two are so importantly linked. So it's important to base your idea or paragraph on something to give reference to it. Luana is right. We want each paragraph to have a concept, to have an idea that is whole and that we explore and that is sort of linked in that paragraph. So this is our first paragraph. Our second paragraph is about responsibility. So we've talked about how do I link these 2 ideas. Here I talked about working a summer job, teachers' responsibility in a number of ways. They learn about key life skills and money management. Without a summer job, students risk the time. So you see in here, I hope, here's my topic sentence or my introduction paragraph. But then I broke down my outline into responsibility for paragraph 2 and money for paragraph 3. So you see up here, this introduces my idea. This first clause introduces my idea. And then I talk about responsibility. I'm going to change the color of that here for you. And then I talk about money management. Okay? So going back, we see here my thesis statement, my introduction up here, and then my point 1 and point 2. And down when I begin to write my essay, in my introduction paragraph, I have my main topic, my essay topic, and then point 1 and point 2. So guess what the first paragraph is going to be all about? Point 1, responsibility. So how do I transition from the main idea of a summer job is so important for high school students to responsibility? Well, I look at how I mentioned it here, and I restate my own idea. I paraphrase myself. sort of working a summer job teaches responsibility in a number of ways. So I can begin my first body paragraph in a similar way, talking about a similar topic. Responsibility comes from trying new and challenging, or from seeking out new and challenging endeavors, which put us outside our comfort zones. Okay? Making yourself intentionally uncomfortable. So I'm talking about responsibility here. And I'm going to go back to my outline and look at what my main points are I wanted to make. Okay, so responsibility. Teaches me a new schedule, guidance through boss's orders, and interaction with customers or coworkers. So responsibility comes from seeking out new and challenging endeavors. That's a general way of saying trying new things, which puts us outside our comfort zones, which is scary. So essentially I said responsibility is trying new things, which is scary. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to talk about the points I made in my outline. So many of you asked, why do we make an outline? This is why. We can go back to our plan, our roadmap, and see what did I want to discuss? What did I want to talk about? Rosa says the best part of summer jobs teach teenagers how to become responsible by learning how to manage their time working under boss's orders and how to interact with others. Yeah, okay, so Rosa is restating what I said right up here. And yes, she could begin her essay by saying exactly that, or begin that paragraph of her essay by saying exactly that. Good job. We can just restate that again. Now, Alash said, how do I avoid repeating myself? That's what we're doing right now. So right now, I'm hopefully answering your question, Alash. Here is how we create alternative ways of introducing a topic to keep it fresh and exciting. Working a summer job teaches us responsibility in a number of ways. Students learn about key life skills like money management and blah, blah, blah. So responsibility comes from seeking new and challenging endeavors, which puts us outside our comfort zones. Most high school students are familiar with schedules, but not schedules as demanding as those put forth from an employer, or as demanding as those given by an employer. The association, I'll get into that in a second. I got a good transition idea here that I want to talk about. So we talked about the schedule, guidance from the boss. Direction from a teacher is often softer than direction given by an employer or a boss or supervisor. What else was I going to talk about? Interaction with customers and coworkers. Also, interactions between other employees and customers is more varied and improves social communication skills. So I can elaborate on all these. We can make this a really nice long paragraph. Most high school students are unfamiliar with schedules, but not schedules are familiar with schedules, but not schedules as demanding as those given by an employer. So we're talking about schedules. Direction from a teacher is often softer than direction given by a boss or supervisor. Also, interactions between other employees and customers is more varied and improves social communication skills. I can elaborate on this, and I could say, for example, you will primarily, or students primarily interact with few people outside of their age group in a high school setting. However, at the workplace, or depending on the workplace, high school students might encounter many different age groups. Now, all right, they might encounter many different age groups. So you can elaborate on your points, on your ideas. You can make each of these things longer if you want. The point I want to make now, and the example I want to show, is how to connect body paragraph 1 to body paragraph 2. So we want to transition from responsibility to money. As I reread my paragraph here and I see, responsibility, challenging, outside our comfort zones, most students familiar with schedules but not those as demanding given by the employer, directions from the teacher, blah, blah, blah. So I like this sentence because I see the opportunity for a nice transition between this and talking about money. So I'm gonna remove that sentence and I'm gonna move it to the bottom of my paragraph, and I'll show you why in just a second. So most high school students are familiar with schedules, but not schedules as demanding as those given by an employer. Now I'm gonna connect this with a semicolon, and I'm gonna say, when a paycheck depends on keeping a timely schedule, and students will be much more motivated to be on time. I gotta reread that. Most high school students are familiar with schedules, but not schedules as demanding as those given by an employer. When a paycheck is affected by whether or not you keep a timely schedule, we could say that. A timely schedule, motivation to be on time will increase. Okay, so paycheck. So I talked about your paycheck depends on whether or not you're on time, right? Which attaches that information to the schedule, the idea of keeping a schedule, teaching responsibility. But now that I brought up paycheck, it's easier to transition to the idea of money. So I can say motivation to be on time will increase, so that ties in with responsibility. Now I'm going to press tab again and come up with a way to connect the idea of responsibility in a paycheck with money management, right? So what can I say? I can say something like managing time well, or being responsible and managing time well can result in a nice paycheck at the end of the month. Saving money over the summer not only shows growth in responsibility, but it allows students to save for higher education. Okay? So I transitioned from responsibility to the idea of money by connecting a timely schedule and paycheck with the idea that the more paycheck you get, the more money you save, and you can use that money later for higher education, for saving for college, for university. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense in the way that I tried to rearrange the ideas to make this paragraph all about responsibility, and this paragraph is going to be all about money. You see, I mentioned paycheck and I say saving money. Now we're talking about money, 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 money. And I'm not really repeating myself. I'm simply connecting ideas and restating ideas so that there's flow and continuity and organization in my essay. Hopefully that makes sense. It is about that time. So we're going to come back next week and we're going to talk about reading. So now we've written an academic essay, a small one. Now what do we do when we're given academic writing? We're given a book to read in class, or we're given an essay from one of our peer students. How do we read it? What do we look for when we're reading, and how does reading help us become better writers? That's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to connect these two ideas just like we connected these two paragraphs, and we're going to go from there. So, looking through the last questions here because I want to address them before I go. JB says the blueprint. Yes, that's right. This outline is like our blueprint. Thank you for remembering that. You guys are paying attention. Good job. All right. We can write a brief essay like planning, and we can use some of the sentences that were written here as brief notes so we can avoid making a mistake, decreasing our times of mistakes. Yes, we always want to make our mistakes less. We're always going to have mistakes as writers, but we can make them less and less. Okay, I've been learning English forever, watched movies, read articles. I went to Western countries. That's good. Immerse yourself in English. And if you're stuck on writing, keep coming to class. We're going to keep practicing, and I promise if you come to class and you listen and try, you will become a better writer. You're very welcome, everybody. You're welcome, everyone who's in the class today. Thank you for being here. You guys are great. And you've written a thesis in English. Awesome. That is great. I hope to one day read that. So keep writing, everyone. Homework for our premium subscribers. Your homework for this week is to write 3 paragraphs, write an introduction, write some support, and then write a conclusion paragraph on an opinion that is other than your own. So I'm not going to assign you anything like write that war is good. That's a terrible topic, and I don't want to force you into something like that. But I want you to think this week about a topic that you believe in, that you think is powerful, that you really like, and then I want you to write the opposite point of view. I just want you to explore that. So think of something that you believe that you think of in one way and write the other way. So if I think the best way to spend your summer is to stay inside and play video games, I'm going to write an essay about going outside and exploring nature. And if I feel like exploring nature is the best thing, I'm going to write about how I only want to stay inside and play video games. Challenge your own ideas, challenge your concepts, flip it around, and try to write something that is outside your own comfort zone. Okay? That is the homework for this weekend. And next week, I will get those corrected and back to you. I hope everybody has an amazing day and keep learning English. Okay? So wherever you are in this world, right now, in this class together, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. We will see you next time, okay? Thanks again for showing up. You guys are great. You have great questions. We'll be back next week with a 2-part series on academic reading, and we'll tie in how that connects with academic writing. So have a great day, night, whatever time it is. Thanks so much. And here's a couple words from Sean.
Hi everyone. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want the full experience of being a student in a Smrt Live class with things like homework and teacher feedback, follow the link and become a premium subscriber. Also, if you want to see more videos from this class, check out our playlist.